Studying Torah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruling Spirit of the universe, who sanctified us with the commandments, commanded us to give it, and gave us the opportunity to engage in words of Torah. This week's parasha is Vayeishev. It begins the Joseph cycle that will end with Joseph dying and us being left in Egypt, and then we start with the story of Moses and the Exodus. But we begin this week with the story of the coat of many colors. For those of you who saw Joseph in the Technicolor Dreamcoat, one of my favorite musicals. If you haven't seen it, you got to. I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to look at 3 pieces in the text. We're going to do it very, very quickly. And then I have a 4th piece that I will share for the last 15 minutes. So we're going to start actually not with the coat of many colors. We're going to start here with Joseph and his brothers. Okay? So we know what happens. Jacob gives Joseph a coat because he's his favorite. Big parenting problem there. And his brothers are jealous of him. And so we're going to start with verse 11. And so do I have a volunteer who would like to? Joyce, would you like to begin?
Yes, this was my portion 61 years ago.
Okay.
But I don't remember much, so that's why I'm here. His brothers detested him, but his father kept the matter in mind.
Okay, now we're going to stop there for a moment. Keep reading. Keep going. Go ahead.
And when his brothers went to tend their father's flock at Shechem, Israel said to Joseph, "Surely your brothers are tending the flock at Shechem by now. Come and let me send you to them." He answered, "Here I am." Israel then said to him, "Pray, go see how your brothers are and how the flock is doing, and bring me back word." So he sent him from the valley of Hebron, and he came to Shechem.
Stop there. Could I have another volunteer online? Jane, would you read, please? Unmute yourself, Jane.
From 12?
Yeah, 15.
Okay. There, a man happened on him as he was wandering in the countryside. The man asked him, "What are you looking for?" He said, "I'm looking for my brothers. Can you tell me, please, where they're tending the flock?" The man said, "They left this place. Yes, I heard them say, 'Let's go to Dothan.'" So Joseph went after his brothers and found them at Dothan.
One more paragraph.
They saw him in the distance, and before he neared them, they wickedly plotted against him to bring about his death. They said to one another, "Here comes that master of dreams. Now then, let us kill him and throw him into one of these pits and say, 'A wild animal devoured him.' Then we'll see what becomes of his dreams."
Okay, let's stop there. Great story, right? Perfect sibling rivalry. What's going on here? Anything other than the straight story? Do you think there's something going on? Any thoughts? Elaine, you have a comment?
Actually, I have 2 questions. One is, why does the father hold Joseph back and then send him? He doesn't go, like, he's going to be with the brothers anyway. And the stranger that's wandering, how does he know who the brothers are?
Hey, great questions. So the first question is, why does his brothers aren't with him? He isn't with his brothers initially, and then Jacob then sends him. So what's that all about? And the second question is, who is this man? So we can answer each one. Somebody have an answer? Okay. Microphone. Introduce yourself.
Joshua Seeger. Well, I'm struck by the notion that the secularity of Joseph, who, unlike the patriarchs, has no direct communication with God, and yet all of the actions in this story seem to be God-driven. And the man that he just happens to meet happens to know where his brothers are. His brothers have developed this hatred of him. All of these things become the overall trajectory to getting Joseph to go where God wants him to be.
Okay, so Joshua, just to paraphrase what you're saying, the man is obviously some representative of God, as you're suggesting. Okay, microphone over here, this way.
Harv Citron. Before all this happens, the text says his brothers hated him. But then it says Jacob kept this in mind, and he sent Joseph out to meet them. What is Jacob's action mean when he knows the brothers hate Joseph, but nevertheless he sends Joseph out alone to meet all these brothers?
Great observation.
The second thing is, I don't have any trouble with him meeting somebody out in the fields because people wander around, no big deal. Might be a local person who knows the countryside. But I don't know what the significance of the brothers going to Dothan is. The Dothan presumably is a city or a town or a village. But what's the significance of going there from where they were?
Great question. Microphone back at the back, and then Joyce, you're next after that.
Well, what's interesting is
Introduce yourself, Ellen.
Ellen Teffine, that when his father told, it says here his father berated him about his dream of bowing down. So he said, "Are we to come, I and your mother and your brothers, and bow low to you to the ground?" So he recognizes at this point that people are upset with him. And maybe he held him back and didn't send him with the rest of the brothers to tend the flock because he worried about his safety.
So, okay, great comment. So I'm going to follow up with the question. So why does he send him out afterwards? In next paragraph, he sends him out. Look up here.
Yeah, I see that. It says one time. So time has passed. Over here, it says one time when his brothers had gone to pasture. So time has passed, and time heals wounds too.
Okay, so just so you know, Ellen, one of the things that we talk about often is that there's no such thing as translation, there's interpretation.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't say, nowhere in the text says say one time. Your translation says it.
Yeah.
But what it says here is, literally, and you see this, I have this highlighted, and his brothers hated him, detested, hated, and his father, the words are literally guarded the thing, which means, kept it in mind, but guarded the thing, whatever that may mean. And then it says, V'ilchu echav lirot et hatzon. And his brothers went to tend their father's flocks. So there's a sense that it happened immediately. Whether or not he did or didn't is another issue. But one of the questions is why at one moment he's concerned for his son's safety, the next moment he sends them out there. So
Does it
great.
have anything to do, and I'll let go, does it have anything to do that he's the youngest
Possibly,
and the favorite? And he wants to keep him as safe as possible?
I think that's absolutely possible. We don't know. Joyce, you're next. 3.
Well, my recollection many years ago is first he had the sheaves of corn falling down, bending down to him, and then the sun and the moon. And what I focused on here more than this story is just I talked about just truth being that people don't want truth if it's different from what they believe or should be. And they detested him because they didn't want to see themselves bow down to him, and that caused all that. So it's not your question, but I'm just remembering now. That's what I focused on.
Thank you. Bring the mic up here.
Steve Ruvalo. This is all part of the plan. The father gives the coat to the son, who they're jealous of anyway. It's a provocative move. Joseph tells of the dream where he's standing straight and the others are bending over to really upset his brothers. His father knows that they hate him, and he sends him out. He sends him out and he finds the stranger, who points him to where his brothers are. And the whole idea of dreams, as we will see later in the parasha, their dreams are really critical. So even though it's not God saying this, it's this amazing coincidence. It's a story with amazing coincidence that just have to happen for us to have our narrative of the Israelites wandering for 40 years, and they're going to wind up in Egypt. It's all part of the story. It's part of the divine plan.
Okay. Any other comments? Back here. Let's pass the mic. And then Elaine, you'll be next.
I just wanted to look at this from the perspective of, like, if we're seeing why does Jacob, Daniel Sales, why does Jacob send out Joseph, that sort of thing? Previously, I mean, when we learn about Joseph, we see how Joseph's different from everyone. And then there's the whole discussion about the coat. Is it a coat? Is it a shirt? Is it something that is more like a girl's garment? That sort of thing. And so if you take it from that perspective, you can look at this as Jacob going, you know what? It's time for you to man up properly, and sending out Joseph to do this. So on his own, to go meet his brothers, to go tend the flock, to check on them. Something that Joseph isn't particularly inclined toward or set up or raised even properly to do. And so we end up with this whole cascade of events that follows on from trying to force him into that mold.
Thank you. Okay, Elaine, last comment, then I'll make a couple.
Yeah, I think there's a Yiddish word, Narishkeit or something. So like, I'm just wondering so it's two things. One, the family's interpreting this dream. Who knows what it means? They're like just very sensitive about could mean totally something else. It doesn't say that's what it actually means. But the Narishkeit, I'm just wondering whether Joseph doesn't realize his brothers hate him, and his father knows that they do, but this keeping the matter in mind, to me, sounds like he kept it in his head. He didn't say to Joseph, watch out for your brothers, because maybe Joseph is in this, dream world, and he doesn't realize his brothers detest him. And he's always trying to be with his older brothers, right? So also the stranger, could the stranger be the one who wrestled with Jacob?
Interesting. Maybe the same one who wrestled with his father. Okay. So there's one more comment in the back over here. Where's the microphone? Pass it back.
Shabbat Shalom, Steve Bauman. What I found very interesting is the two things that you yellowed, and maybe that's because I focused on them because you yellowed them, really drive the whole story. If it weren't for the fact that the father says go out, and the fact that the man tells him we already will find them, there would be no Joseph story. There would be no rest of the Bible. There almost no rest of everything. There would be no Egypt. There would be no anything. So to me, there's a huge leverage point here, and the man and Yisrael are conspiring, and the man, of course, was named Yisrael. I mean, Yisrael was named by another man who wrestled with him.
Okay. So a few comments. Jacob is not the best father in the world. Okay. Not only do we have the issue with the coat, not only do we have the issue of he keeps the thing in mind, he shmar et hadavar, doesn't say anything to his son, but just kind of keeps it there. So not great modeling of how to discuss things. And then but he knows something's going on. And you know, like Daniel said, maybe he's saying it's time for you, Joseph, to grow up. And so maybe you got to go out. And what does he do? Look down here in the Hebrew on the right, where Jacob says to Israel, says to Joseph, go see how your brothers are. The Hebrew, though, says, lech na, go see et shalom, the peace of your brothers, which was a different thing than saying, let me go find out how they are. Okay? It's go out and discover the peace of your brothers. Maybe it's Jacob's way of saying, make peace with your brothers. Okay? Find the peace that can exist between you and them. I'm trying to be generous to Jacob.
Yeah.
Okay? You know, I will tell you without telling any of the details. There was a moment in my life when my kids were with me. All four of us were together, and my kids got into it, and brothers and sister, and they got into it big time. And I started off by being exactly like Jacob. I didn't say anything. Finally, I wasn't so good, and it boiled over me. And I spoke to both of them. I said, you need to be concerned about each other, not to be concerned at each other. And because you only have each other. Whether or not they listen to me or not is a whole nother issue. But I get what Jacob was trying to do here from that perspective. He's trying to get some shalom with the brothers. Now, let's talk a little bit about this man, this Ish. To be quite honest, you don't need this story at all, and the story still holds together. Because it could just be that Jacob sends Joseph out, Joseph follows his brothers and finds them, and the story takes place. So why is this little story here? We have no idea. The rabbis don't know either. You know, is the Ish another angel? Is it the same one who wrestled with Jacob? We don't know. And it's such a bizarre story because there happens a man on him and he was wandering in the countryside. The man says, what are you looking for? He said, I'm looking for my brothers. Where are they? And they say he left his place. That he knows who his brothers are? I mean, the whole thing is kind of bizarre. So the question is, what does all this mean? The rabbis are focused on the brothers and Joseph and their relationship. And they like Joseph a lot, and they don't like the brothers a lot, based on the story. So when the man says they left this place, nasu mizeh, okay, that is a trigger for the rabbis. And then another trigger is they saw him in the distance, v'yir'u oto merechok. What does that mean? Why is this important? Well, here's some commentary. First of all, love this little passage from Lauren Berman. The word for cruelty, which appears in the book of Numbers, is achzar. Achzar. Aleph, Kaf, Zayin, Resh. And each syllable of the two words can actually be, each syllable of the word can be interpreted, shed a new meaning. The first syllable, ach, is the same sound as brother, okay? And zar means stranger. In other words, cruelty is most demonstrated when kinfolk see each other as strangers, rather than the family members that they are. I love that midrash. So nis'u mizeh, they've journeyed from here. This is what the man says, meaning they've departed from all feeling of brotherhood. So when the man says to Joseph, they left this place, what he's really saying to him is they no longer consider you to be their brother. Okay? Then you have this Or HaChaim, they saw him from afar. Refers to the distance of their hearts, because they didn't see him as their brother. Rather, they saw him as a man distant from him, a stranger. And before he came near, if he hadn't said there's the vav here, and before with a vav, it would have implied the reading of distance. Therefore, the vav was added to show the matter was different. It was emotional. What Or Chaim saying is that when they before right here, where is it? Uv terem yikrav. If this vav had not been there, Or Chaim is suggesting it was a physical distance. But what he's saying is, like Rashi before him, that what's happening here is the brothers have already seen him no longer as their brother, but they see him now as a stranger or somebody or less than a stranger. What happens when we do that, by the way? I'll give you a hint. In Germany, Jews were called Niedermann, literally not human, non-man. And therefore, you could treat them however you wanted. And we find in the story that that's exactly what happens. Okay, so now we had the whole story here in this bizarre tale of how he gets sold. So we're going to quickly read this. Could I have a volunteer to read, please? Somebody want to read? Okay, Elaine, you get it. Start with verse 21, if you would.
But when Reuben heard this, he saved him from their hands by saying, "Let us not strike him a mortal blow." Reuben said to them, "Do not shed blood. Throw him into this pit here in the wilderness, but do not lay a hand against him in order to deliver him from their hands to restore him to his father." So when Joseph came to his brothers, they stripped Joseph of his coat, the coat of many colors that he had on. Then they took him and threw him into a pit. The pit was empty. There was no water in it.
Thank you. New reader, somebody willing to read? Daniel, go ahead. Microphone in the back, please, on this side. Oh, you got it? Go ahead.
They had sat down to eat when they looked up and saw a caravan of Ishmaelites traveling from Gilead. Their camels were loaded with laudanum, balm, and mastic. They were heading down to Egypt. Judah then said to his brothers, "How will it profit us if we kill our brother and cover up his blood? Let us rather sell him to the Ishmaelites, then our hand will not be on him. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh." And his brothers heeded him.
Okay, great. Thank you. So then let's actually, Daniel, keep reading verse 28.
When the Midianite trainers came through, they pulled Joseph up out of the pit. They sold Joseph for 20 pieces of silver to the Ishmaelites, who carried Joseph off to Egypt.
Okay, so thank you. So we had this story of duplicity, but it's kind of bizarre. Okay, first of all, there are two characters here, Reuben and Judah. Okay, who's the good guy? Reuben. Who's the bad guy? Judah. Okay, why? Because Judah says, how will it profit us if we kill our brother and cover up his blood? Rather, let's sell him. And then our hands, not only will we not be blamed, but we'll also get some money for it. Not a good brother, okay? Reuben, on the other hand, Reuben, on the other hand, seems to be a little bit more caring for his brother, okay? Comment, microphone up here, please. 1, 2, and 3.
Cynthia, my comment is, what Judas said, it wasn't probably as bad as if they would have killed him.
Yes, it can be interpreted as a way of saving him as opposed to killing him. Yes. Who is number two? Go ahead. Microphone. Where's the mic? On this side. Somebody over here has a mic. Who has it? Thank you.
Rabbi, we've been talking about.
Excuse me, who are you?
Oh, Jeff Berman. Rabbi, we've been talking about his brothers not wanting him to be a brother anymore. And yet here, it's very clear. They're saying, we're no gain by killing our brother. So what is it? Do they think him as a brother or don't they? Here they say, he is my brother.
Good point. Good point. I can say brother and I can mean brother. I can say brother and not mean brother.
But the implication with the German word you said, if he's not your brother, he's not human.
Right.
And now they're saying he's our brother. That makes him human. That may explain what Judah's trying to do.
Absolutely. Okay, who is it? Microphone up here. Careful.
Har Citron. I see both Reuben and Judah as very conflicted.
It's very what?
They are
Conflicted.
two
Conflicted.
people up against a whole group of people, and they don't want to go against the group because they're going to get hurt if they do. So I see Reuben as the first good thought. Don't kill him. Let's just leave him in the pit somehow or other. Maybe he'll get out. And Judah goes a little further. He says, we leave him in the pit, he's going to die. So, and it doesn't do us any good. Anyway, not a matter of money, but it just profit, meaning, does it do me good or doesn't it? And it's not going to do them any good. So why not sell them and get them out of the pit, and whatever happens to them happens.
Thank you. Thank you. One more comment, and then I'm going to make a comment. Arton and Helen, I'm not sure who wants to make the comment.
Yes, it's Art wants to make a comment. I think this is an example of maturity. Reuben is the oldest son, and he's probably developed a level of judgment that the others don't have. They're essentially adolescents. As we know from neuroscience, this phase of adolescence to early adulthood, whatever that is, in the 20s or even early 30s, you don't have good judgment. Anyway, that's my perception of it.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Well, the rabbis obviously have something to say about all this, but we're not going to get to that quite yet. What I want to focus on for just a moment and not take any comments is this very bizarre thing that says they saw a caravan of Ishmaelites traveling from Gilead. And then it says right here, when the Midianite traders came through, they pulled Joseph up out of the pit. And they sold Joseph for 20 pieces of silver to the Ishmaelites. Huh? So the rabbis, and I'm going to share this with you, and Howard will be able to share it with all of you later on. All these comments, I'm just showing to you the comments here. All these comments where the rabbis try to explain who the Midianites are, who the Ishmaelites are, and who the Medanites are. All three of whom are mentioned as being the people who either are sold Joseph or who sell Joseph to Potiphar in Egypt. It's just so bizarre that there are all these different names, and the rabbis twist themselves into pretzels trying to figure out how this all is. Because remember, this is all given by God. God meant all this to be said, and there's no inconsistency here. So the rabbis have to figure out what that inconsistency means, and they go through all twists and turns to be able to do it. Now, the one other approach is there are two different traditions here. There's an Ishmaelite tradition. There's a Midianite tradition. By the way, there's also a Reuben tradition. and there's a Judah tradition in this story. Okay? You can take the Reuben story and it goes one way. Take the Judah story, it goes another way. Both, I think, may have been put together in the same way that the Ish, the man, is some sort of another piece of a story that got inserted here. Okay? Because you don't need that piece to have the story go on. Now, let's move forward to the next piece that I want to focus on. And that is, where is it? Aha. So Judah then said, oh, sorry. Where am I? I'm up here. So, meanwhile, the Midianites sold him Egypt to Potiphar, one of Pharaoh's officers, captain of the guard. We know where the story's supposed to go. It's supposed to now head to Egypt, but it doesn't. We now have this story about Judah and Tamar. We're going to read it very quickly. So who wants to read fast? Okay, Joshua, you get to read 38:1.
Around that time, Judah parted from his brothers and fell in with an Adulamite named Hira. There Judah saw the daughter of a Canaanite named Shua. He took her to wife and coupled with her. She became pregnant and bore a son, and he named him Er. Again, she became pregnant and bore a son, and she named him Onan. Yet again, she became pregnant and bore a son, and she named him Shelah. And when she gave birth to him, he, Judah, was in Chezib. Judah now took a wife for Er, his firstborn. Her name was Tamar. But Er, Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of the Eternal, and the Eternal brought about his death. Judah then said to Onan, couple with your brother's widow, unite with her and raise up offspring for your brother. But Onan knew that the offspring would not be his, so whenever he coupled with his brother's wife, he would waste his seed on the ground in order not to produce offspring for his brother. What he did was wicked in the sight of the Eternal, who brought about his death as well. Judah then said to his daughter-in-law Tamar, stay as a widow in your father's house until my son Shelah grows up. He thought, lest he too die like his brothers. So Tamar went and stayed in her father's house.
Keep going, but go
Time
faster.
passed, and Shua's daughter, Judah's wife, died. And after Judah was consoled,
Wait. Okay. Wait. There we go.
he went up to his sheep shearers, he and his friend Hira, the Adulamite, toward Timnah. When Tamar was told, look, your father-in-law is going up toward Timnah to shear his sheep, she discarded her widow's garb, covered herself up with a veil, wrapped herself up, and stationed herself at the entrance to Anaim on the way to Timnah. For she saw that Shelah had grown up, yet she had not been given to him as a wife. When Judah saw her, he took her for a prostitute, for she had covered her face. So he turned toward her on the road and said, pray, let me couple with you. He was not aware that she was his daughter-in-law, and she said, what will you give me to couple with me? He replied, I will send you a kid from the flock. But she said, only if you give me a pledge until you send it. He asked, what sort of pledge should I give you? She then said, your signet seal, your cord, and the staff in your hand. So he gave them to her and coupled with her, and she became pregnant by him. When he got up and left, she discarded her veil and put on her widow's garb. But when Judah sent the kid by way of his Adulamite friend to redeem the deposit from the woman, he did not find her. And when he asked the people of her place, where is that courtesan, the one at the crossroads? They replied, there wasn't any courtesan here. He then returned to Judah and said, I did not find her. Moreover, the people the people of the place said, there never has been a courtesan here. Judah then said, let her keep it, lest we become a laughingstock. I did send this kid, though you could not find her. Then after about 3 months, Judah was told, Tamar, your daughter-in-law, has played the whore, and now she has even become pregnant by whoring. And Judah said, bring her out and let her be burned. Brought out she was, but she sent to her father-in-law, saying, the man to whom these belong made me pregnant. Acknowledged whose signet seal, cords, and staff these are. Judah recognized them and said, she is more in the right than I, for certainly I did not give her to my son Shelah, and he never touched her again.
Let's stop there. Okay, who says that the Bible is for general audiences? Okay, it should be banned. Now, there's lots of stuff going on here. But the fact is, and by the way, it says, and she was giving birth, blah, blah, she had two babies, Peretz and Zerah. And then look at the next line, 39:1. Now Joseph was brought down to Egypt and Potiphar wanted, okay? The story does not belong there at all. It's just inserted. Just insert. The question is why, and what's the purpose of this? What's the purpose of the story? So, let's see who has comments. One, anybody else have a comment or question? Okay, let's start there. And Barbara, you're number 2. Microphone back here, Harv.
דליה אור, בוקר טוב, שבת שלום. So I will start with that nothing in the Bible is not belonging. So I will try to string the pearls into a story starting from Yaakov responds to Yosef's dreams that he kept them in his heart. He remembered that there was a lesson for him. We are not told what is the lesson, but there is a lesson there. And then we have the puzzle. Why did he send Joseph to his brothers? And then we have the puzzle. Why is the story about Judah? And what I want to suggest, the string of those pearls, is God's plan that Jacob start to understand that that the blessing that God gave to his family goes to one leader, and he had 12 sons. So it seems like in the beginning he thought maybe it's Joseph, but he remembered the dreams, and I think and I suggest he concluded that's not the leader that will carry the blessing to lead Am Israel. So he have to let go of him. Let go in many ways, maybe let go from his camp, let go from the comfort, let go and let him face the brothers, let go and let him face his destiny. And his destiny is to be the king of Egypt. So he had to participate in this plan no matter how painful it is. And the story about Judah, there was either Reuven, so it's going to be, the leader is going to be the sons of Leah, either Reuven or Yehuda. And the story about Judah showed his character of being a mensch, of knowing to do the right thing, even if he didn't have to. Nobody would challenge him for that. So this is the strength. So this is the God's plan, how to choose the leader. And it's not going to be somebody that everybody need to bow to, and not somebody that is like what Joseph could be and was. I'm sorry I took so much
No,
time.
thank you. Thank you. Barbara, you're next.
Thank you. I was just wondering why, if there's any reason given why Judah did not give his third son to.
Barbara, could you speak a little bit louder?
Yes. Let me see if I was just wondering, can you hear me better now?
Yes.
I was just wondering why Judah did not give his third son, Shelah, to Tamar, except that it might be part of God's plan. But how did Judah know?
Well, I think the answer is he was afraid. His first son died. His second son died. He just didn't want to have his third son die. And he felt that there was some sort of, bad, mojo going on here, and wasn't willing to do that. So I think that's the answer. I think, Dai, to go to what you said, I think that there's a lot of truth in seeing Judah, who doesn't act very, there's a whole bunch of stuff that he does wrong. But the thing that he does right is this line right here, where he says, she is more in the right than I. He says, Sadka mimeni. Okay, she is more righteous than I am. And he recognizes his flaw. And one of the things that we discover in our leaders is that when you're willing to recognize that you are not a perfect human being, That's often when you're the better leader. Okay, at least that's been my experience. And what do we find out from this story? Why is this story here? Because who are the children that are born from Tamar? The two children are these children, Peretz and Zerah. Who is Peretz? Peretz is the great-grandfather or great-great-grandfather, one of these, of King David. Okay? So it is a direct line to the Messiah. He's not born, this kid is not born, I mean, it's at best terrible circumstances. But he is going to be the forerunner of the Messiah. And that says a lot. So, and the other question is, why is this story here? Elaine, I'm not going to take comment right now. If you look up here, where is it? Here. Around that time, Judah parted from his brothers. The rabbis comment about this, and they say the following. He now decides that he needs to live a different life than that of his brothers. That he chooses to depart from the deception and the duplicity of his brothers. And he decides to go another way. He leaves his brothers. So Joseph is pushed away from his brothers. Judah chooses to leave his brothers. And we are known as Bnei Yisrael, but children of Israel, but we're also known as Bnei Yehudah, children of Judah, because that's who we are. We are descendants of Judah. And so the story is here to give us this connective tissue to not only Joseph, but then to the Messiah. And so it's put into the story. Okay? Now I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to go and share my screen and share something completely different. We're going to look at the Haftarah. Okay? And the Haftarah is from Amos. Now, Amos is an interesting character. He lives in about 790 BCE, something like 760 BCE. It's before the destruction, before the northern kingdom gets destroyed. He's born in Judah, and he goes up north into the northern kingdom, and he prophesies there. And the northern kingdom is doing well. It's economically, it's doing terrific, but it's starting to go into a little bit of moral decline. Okay, and so I want to look at Amos for a second. And in Amos 7, you have this very famous line where he says, "I am not the prophet, nor am I the son of a prophet. I'm merely a cattle breeder and a tender of sycamore figs. But God took me away from following the flock, and God said to me, go prophesy to my people Israel." Amos, like his predecessor, by the way, he's one of the 12 minor prophets. Why is he a minor prophet? Anybody know why? Why it's called the minor prophets and major prophets? Go ahead. Well, yes. The major prophets are big books, and the minor prophets are small books. That's why it's called minor prophets. Okay? Has nothing to do with the importance of them. It's just that the book is a small book. So Amos, like all the other prophets, says, no. Who am I? I'm just a cattle breeder. I take care of trees. You know, he dismisses his service as a prophet, and he says, not only am I not a prophet, I'm not even the son of a prophet. I have no right to be here. But God said to him, prophesy. And then Amos says that God says, for 3 transgressions of Israel, for 4, I will not revoke it. What's it? Promise of salvation. because they have sold for silver those whose cause was just, and the needy for a pair of sandals. So what Amos is saying here is that there's a lot that God is going to forgive you for. But what God will not forgive you for is selling your brethren and causing those who are related to you to to be thrown aside for either silver or even a pair of sandals. That, by the way, is the connection to the Torah portion, because his brothers sell him for 20 shekels of silver, and so we have that comment here. That's the connection. So Amos is saying you have to behave a certain way. You cannot be what's the word I'm thinking? Being mercenary. You have to be compassionate. And then Amos says, I raised up prophets from among your sons and Nazarites from among your youth. Is that so, people of Israel? Says God. But you made the Nazarites drink wine and ordered the prophets not to prophesy. Saying, Amos says, not only are you doing bad, but you cause good people to do bad things as well. Okay? You cause good people to do bad things as well. There's a point to all this. You'll hear it in a moment. Then Amos also has this very famous line, a lion has roared, who will not fear? My Lord God has spoken, who can but prophesy? Rashi, commenting on Amos, says, what does this mean? A lion has roared, who will not fear? Just as one cannot ignore a lion's roar, so the prophet cannot ignore the command to prophesy. Okay, now hold that for a moment, saying that we are obligated to speak truth wherever we see it. Just like you cannot have a lion who will not roar, you cannot have a prophet who does not prophesy. And that's important. Prophecy is more than a calling. It is innate. It is part of our nature. It is not just a calling. And then what does Amos say? This is the famous line. I loathe, I spurn your festivals. I am not appeased by your solemn assemblies. Spare me the sounds of your hymns, and let me not hear the music of your lutes, but let justice roll down like waters, righteousness like a mighty stream. Yigal kamayim mishpat, utzdaka kenachal etan. A very powerful line, okay? And we know that line from a guy by the name of Martin Luther King, who says in I Have a Dream, as we walk, we cannot turn back. There are those who are asking the devotees of civil rights, when will you be satisfied? We can never be satisfied as long as our bodies cannot gain lodging in the motels of the highways and the hotels of the cities. We will never be satisfied as long as a Negro in Mississippi cannot vote and a Negro in New York believes he has nothing in which to vote. No, we are not satisfied. We will not be satisfied until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness as a mighty stream. We are obligated to prophesy because we are prophets. From The Lion King. Mufasa's ghost says, Simba, you have forgotten me. No, how could I? You have forgotten who you are, and so have forgotten me. Look inside yourself, Simba. You're more than you have become. You must take your place in the circle of life. I got chills just now. How can I go back? I'm not who I used to be. Remember who you are. You are my son and the one true king. Remember who you are. No, please don't leave me. Remember, Father, remember. Don't leave me. Remember. Or to put it another way, remember who you are. You are a lion. You have sharp claws. You have big teeth. If you use your gifts and you take initiatives, you can take your rightful place. And in Shakespeare, in Hamlet, this above all things, to thine own self be true, and it must follow as the night the day. You canst not then be false to any man. The idea here is you have to be true to your nature. your innateness. Okay, what does this have to do with all of us? You'll get to it in a moment. Sometimes it takes a calamity, sometimes a shaking, an earthquake to remember what we're called to be true to. There's this poem from Zelda. Takes a while to get to it, but it's called Who Can Resist the Beauty of the Light? I bore my anger to show to the light, seeking comfort in its beauty, but I was not worthy in its eyes. Why is your life dark? It said. You are not in the depths of the pit. This must be a lack of love. And I shook and wept. King David, the king was shaken. He went up to the upper chamber of the gateway and wept after his son Absalom was killed by Joab. Moaning these words, he said, my son Absalom, oh my son Absalom, if only I had died instead of you. Oh Absalom, my son, my son. Amos, the very beginning, the words of Amos, a sheep breeder from Tekoa, who prophesied concerning Israel in the reigns of King Uzziah of Judah and Jeroboam, son of Joash of Israel, 2 years before the earthquake. And Amos says, shall not the earth shake for this, and all that dwell on it mourn? Shall not all rise like the Nile and surge and subside like the Nile of Egypt? Sometimes, in order to grow, we have to have an earthquake strike. Rehan and Cogburn have a model of the stages of change. And here it is. Very simply, you have, and basically it's contemplation, preparation, action, maintenance, relapse, and it's a spiral. The idea is that we never change in any significant way unless there's some sort of relapse, some sort of trauma that occurs, some sort of earthquake that hits us, okay? And then in anime, there's this thing called the Legend of Korra. When we reach our lowest point, we are open to the greatest change. Now, one of my favorite passages. Elijah went into a cave and stayed all night. God spoke these words to him, Elijah, why are you here? Lord God, all-powerful, I have always served you as well as I could, but the people of Israel have broken their agreement with you, destroyed your altars, killed your prophets with swords. I'm the only prophet left, and now they're trying to kill me too. God said to Elijah, go stand out in front of me on the mountain, I will pass by you. Strong wind blew until it caused the mountain to fall apart, and large rocks to break in front of the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. After the wind, there was an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. After the earthquake, there was a fire, but God was not in the fire. After the fire, there was the still small voice, Kol Damama Daka. And Elijah heard it. He covered his face with his coat and went out and stood at the entrance of the cave. Sometimes it is after the earthquake, after the fire, after the wind, after the trauma, that we can hear who we're supposed to be, like Judah. In times of rupture, of challenge to our very nature, that reveal our gift, it is those times that reveal our gifts. These times need not necessarily be considered awful. A nation can be challenged at times by prosperity, but the shaking strips the soul, allowing us to understand ourselves, a self that cannot be lied to or about, evaded or subverted, but possesses tremendous qualities. I share this with you because that's the story that we hear about Judah. That Judah grows as a result of this and says, she is more righteous than I am. And it's for that truth that Perez becomes the ancestor of King David. And David, who's a flawed figure, becomes the ancestor of the Messiah. Friends, Beth Am has been through an earthquake. That's the reason why I'm here. And as a result of the earthquake, though, I believe Beth Am is stronger and has discovered or is in the process of discovering its true nature. And that true nature is greatness. That greatness can come about. And sometimes it takes trauma to make that happen. Shabbat shalom. Let's all rise. Let's all rise as able. And let us recite the Kaddish to Rabbanan. Let the glory of God be extolled. Let God's great name be hallowed in the world where whose creation God willed. May God's sovereignty soon prevail in our own day, our own lives, and the life of all Israel. And let us say amen. Let God's great name be blessed forever and ever. Let the name of the Holy One of blessing be glorified, exalted, and honored, though God is beyond all the praises, songs, and adorations that we can utter. And let us say amen. God of heaven and earth, grant abundant peace to our people and their leaders, to our teachers and their disciples, and to all engaged in the study of Torah, here and everywhere. Let there be for them and for us all grace, love, and compassion, a joyful life, sustenance, and the hope of your sovereignty. And let us say amen. For us, for all Israel, and for all humanity, may the blessing of peace and the promise of life come true. And let us say amen. May the one who causes peace to reign in the high heavens, let peace descend on us, on all Israel, and all the world. And let us say amen. Friends, Shabbat Shalom.